What if your biggest challenges on the dairy could be solved not with more labor, but with smarter systems? In this episode recorded at World Dairy Expo, Manuel Soares, CEO of Milc Group, shares how artificial intelligence and automation are reshaping the future of dairy, from systems that predict cow health before clinical signs appear, to voice-activated digital assistants that guide employees in real time. Manuel lays out a vision where technology doesn't replace people, but helps them perform at their best. That and more right here today on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Milc Group. Milc Group is a dairy software company that brings real-time actionable data to dairy farms around the world. They are dedicated to revolutionizing the dairy industry with their user-friendly cloud-based software. One by Milc Group is the all-in-one app that brings together all important aspects of your dairy in one place. With products such as feed and animal management software, people training, dairy facility monitoring, and scale management, Milc Group is committed to providing producers with the tools they need to succeed. We're here at World Dairy Expo, and you guys have been here all week having conversations with dairy farmers. What have you been talking about? What's new at Milc Group?
You know, it's a great place to kind of connect with your customers too, right? That already have our products that, you know, either want to give us suggestions or in some rare cases, hopefully it's really rare, that they've had some issues or questions to try to get answered. But I think a lot of them are really just trying to figure out where are we going, right? Because we're a company that's advancing and moving all the time, releasing new stuff. And they kind of want to get an idea, hey, you know, what can we expect next? And because you guys are always bringing something new. And so those are fun conversations for me to be able to share, you know, kind of direction. And we've released quite a bit for this end of year going into January. So we, you know, built our own ID system, as you know, and, you know, someone said, well, why are you building something that already exists? Well, the problem is the accuracy of the IDs aren't great. And quite a bit of it is the technology used. And, you know, we've really wanted to focus on functionality on the dairy. How do you manage the asset called the dairy employee and say, how do I make sure that they have the tools and the accuracy necessary? So, you know, the whole idea of garbage in, garbage out, we reduce the garbage in. You know, we've spent a lot of time saying, okay, if I'm, for example, a dairy that I'm going to do the hospital, I'm an employee, you know, what does it take to do the hospital? Well, I've got to identify the cow. I've got to know what stall she's in, and I've got to know what to do to her. So we built the ID system, and it's multi-use. And as the animal loads into the stall, it automatically comes up in the app, and it says stall X, cow number Y, and these are the tasks or anything I need to do to her. Whether I'm the dairy manager or herd manager walking in and I go, you know, what's wrong with this animal? I don't have to go up and find out who she is. I just open the app and it's listed by the stall, right? So that it starts to make this live connection between the animal and the human, whether it's to assess or to treat or to sort or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. And so this is animal.
This is
right?
animal. Yeah. So the ID, the reader itself talks directly to your cell phone through Bluetooth and lists them live as they get loaded. So it becomes, you know, very handy. And then it's not just listing them. So let's say hypothetically that you have an animal that needs a vaccination and she's in the barn. I could vaccinate her, touch the app and say, I'm done. There's no data entry later. It's not a longer process. It's all live, immediate, right? So you get this feedback where if somebody's trying to add in a computer later and there's a mistake and they've got a question, the cow's not in front of them. I didn't do it. So what happened, right? And so it's that immediate, yes, here's the cow, here's the treatment, I'm done. Now everything's in the system, updated to everyone else immediately. It's speed, and the quicker I can get something done and populate that, the better off we are.
So this is Milc ID. It attaches to animal, and we were actually just out on a dairy that was installing they were installing it, Bella, or they already
Yeah,
have it?
Bella Holstein. So, we have to always be careful of not interfering with the milking process.
Yeah.
And they're milking pretty much around the clock. So we split it up. We went in, my team went in 1 week and worked with Dairy Specialists, which is their equipment dealer. And they installed one side, and then we left so they can play catch up because we put them behind for that day. And then we went in last week and did the other side. And so now it's just validating and bringing in milk. And we started having conversations with Beco, Stan Brown, who owns Beco. We started having conversations with him some time ago. And this ID is perfect for bringing in actual animal connection to milk, right? Because you get situations where you get an ID system doesn't work very well. And sometimes the meter gets the blame when it really isn't the meter. It's just we're identifying the wrong animal, placing them in the wrong position. So Stan and Jason and others were pretty excited about this. So we worked with them to build kind of the back end. And what's really nice about this is that the Beco meter and our ID we collect the two together. It goes nowhere else. So we get the milk, we get the ID, and it goes in the animal. And that data is owned by the dairy producer. So no one else knows production. So dairy producer can pick and choose who they want to share that information with. And it's not a different company that gets it. So that was a big deal. And Bella's going extremely well.
Yeah.
They were pretty happy. They stopped by our booth today and they were pretty happy.
So how funny is it that we were out at Bella when they were doing one of those installs with dairy specialists and got to see that side of it, right? And just, and like you said, they kind of worked in doing half of it during that downtime and came back at a later date to do the rest.
Yep.
But really the core problem, there's a couple of problems that's solving, right? You talk about that efficiency and speed, but also accuracy, and that's a huge one, isn't it?
It's big.
Yeah.
I told my team 100%, right? Because if we're going to do treatments, vaccinations, whatever, it has to be 100%. You can't have the wrong cow identified. So, if we can't 100% ID it for whatever reason, we don't ID it. It's a blank stall. So at least somebody can go up and replace the ear tag or look at it. It's a simple, visual ear tag. It's very low cost to be able to get that accurate. It's just the technology that we're using that makes it different.
Yeah. So that's one thing that has been a topic of conversation this week here at Dairy Expo. And you said that there are quite a few projects that are really coming online into the marketplace in these next couple of months. What else have you guys been working on behind the scenes?
Yeah, ID was a big thing that's released and we're installing today. Parlor View, which is in the app, that's what happens or what you're in when it starts to load the stall and the ID and the task. So it's really important that it's live and that it's really easy for people to navigate, right? So, it's install order, so it makes it simple. Going into animal is pretty important because I am blown away by how well this team has worked to bring something together. We're not 40 years old. We're not 20 years old. Animals somewhere around 3 years old, and I would go head to head with anybody. And being released in January, we'll start to release it to some of our customers probably in December-ish because it'll be a full release in January. To get some feedback is our own command line or think more ChatGPT. You get this little box and you ask questions, whether you type it or ask it in any language and natural language. So I could say, show me all the cows in pen 1 that are D&B. Here's a list. It really becomes conversational rather than I got to go find a report, run a report, that kind of thing. So and you could do averages and counts, and I want to I've got an earbud in, and I want to just open fresh cows, right? And then I just start entering fresh cows. So yeah, it's really cool. It'll build off of that. it is a AI model. We didn't write that. I mean, these organizations spend a lot of money creating these models. It's our data. So our AI stays inside the platform. So it's not going to tell you the population of Madison, Wisconsin, right? It literally is only looking at the data inside your system, does not leave that.
Okay.
So that's pretty important. We start off in animal. It will build out over all the other products, our feed management, facility, farm. It's going to be really big in our analytics module when we release that. And that's where you can do things like, hey, repro is down right now. Give me some ideas of why. And it'll go through all the data, analyze and say, okay, well, you have low heat detection rate this week or last 2 weeks. Or, hey, you were using this sire that doesn't have great conception, or you have this breeder that was struggling. So it starts to give you ideas, or at least your consultants know, okay, I don't have to go analyze or research. I can start to ask questions and then go help the dairy producer solve the issue. It's not going to solve the issues for you, but it's going to at least do a lot of this for you without a lot of, hours of research.
I see. So it's kind of narrowing down the time, shrinking the time that it takes to troubleshoot.
Correct.
Yeah. So you, like, from a consultancy standpoint, there's a problem. Well, instead of being the one that has to query reports and sort through that data, just simply putting in the request to the AI function and it's spitting back out, and then using that to then, take that next step.
Yes.
In the troubleshooting process.
Yeah, I mean, that's what AI does really well. What we're doing is providing the data and the dictionary of what that data means, and then AI can consume it and know what to do with it, right? So,
wow. So that's a two-step. It's the collection of data and accuracy. Obviously, like we talked about before, is so important. So it's that accurate data. It's putting it into a system, and then this next step is using AI to take it and to make it meaningful. And I think that has been, the goal of these technologies for years now, is meaningful data, right?
yeah, I like to make the statement of consumable, right? We got a lot of data. We just don't know what to do with it because it comes from a lot of different directions and it doesn't always align. We're not, most dairy producers are not data scientists, so they don't really understand data models. And AI does a really great job of, as long as we've designed it correctly, you could go off the rails, but we really know our products and really know the data. We know dairy really well. And so we're teaching it how to analyze and how to look at data, right? So it's exciting. I mean, we have it in our booth today showing some people, and it's pretty cool because it's not a structured language. So I just speak naturally in any language, by the way, because AI handles all the different languages. So if I speak Russian, it works because AI translates the Russian to English and grabs it out of the dictionary, right? So it becomes really, really user friendly to just about anyone. But in the app, you just open Mira is what it's called, and you tell Mira, hey, show me all the cows on the dairy that are DMB, or I want to know all the cows that are less than 60 pounds of milk and not pregnant, or whatever you want.
Wow. You named it Mira?
Mira.
Where did that come from?
It translates pretty well into other languages, right? So when in marketing or global company, right? So, and I forget what it means. To tell you the truth, it's MIRA means something like window or future or something or another. So,
there's an intention behind.
There's an intention behind it. And I'm going to get beat up by Jason, our marketing guy, because I don't remember what the meaning is, but there is intention, and you want something simple that people can remember, right?
Yeah.
And relate to, and that it has to be something that you can have articles or talk about in other languages understand it. So that's kind of important as well.
So this is a really a revolutionary technology of really AI being this tool that now can take the data we've been collecting from all of these different points, all these different places and spaces for years. And this is, Manuel, it reminds me of like, I don't know, probably 10 years ago when I was a magazine editor covering some of the work actually done right here at UW. They called it the Dairy Brain. Do you remember this? Victor Cabrera and the crew.
One of my teammates
working
on that with that team.
Yes. And I remember them talking about all of this machine learning.
Sure.
And being able to get to the point where it could tell you what your recommended best practices or protocol could be in a situation with a specific cow. And it just seemed so far away. And now we're here.
I would tell you that in the next, I can't tell you when it happens, but in the next few years, we're not going to have forms anymore to fill out. I am literally going to have employees with buds in their ear, a device in their pocket, and they're just talking to the conversation with the AI. They're saying, hey, I'm doing vet check. Cow 1, 2, 3. Hey, what, she was bred 46 days ago. Is she pregnant? Yep, she's pregnant. And technician is so-and-so. And basically a conversation. I just move on. I got free hands. I can do whatever I want, but it's all about conversation. Right?
So instead of having someone next to you with a clipboard, it's in your ear.
It's literally like an assistant with you, right?
What else? You talk about this, what's possible. What else do you think is possible in the next 10 years?
I'm a big thinker, right? So,
I know.
And I've got to be careful about, sometimes there's ideas that are too early. I've always got to be careful of not being too early because that doesn't do well because people can't consume it or they we're not there yet. I do believe that, and I'm having conversations today about some opportunity of using robots and software and AI really connected and integrated where, it will have observations around your dairy that doesn't take a human and some actions that won't take a human. So, it's pretty exciting. And I know there's a group that I'm meeting with quite a bit, trying to figure out how to do this. There's another group I'm meeting with next week, actually, that is using a lot of robotics in other industries, and they want to work with us in our software in our industry. And I'm pretty excited about that conversation. That won't replace good humans, but from some of those tasks that are not fun and, hard to hire for, robotics will be in place.
It reminds me actually of a conversation that we just had here at Dairy Expo this morning out on the tan bark. And it was with a couple of dairymen that have robots, right? Box robots. And one of them said, really what drove us to the milking robot was because we had really good employees. And in order to keep them challenged, that's what we needed to do to retain the good ones, was challenge them more. And I think that lends a little bit to what you're saying here too.
Absolutely. I mean, we all want to grow. Some of us grow at different rates or different challenge. Some really love challenge. Some love some challenge, right? So the good employees really want to grow their own ability to have an impact on the dairy. And so quite often these ideas, these thinking about processes and using technology actually excites them and makes them really engaged because they get to participate and learn more. So, it really is. You got to be careful to pick the right technologies and the right companies to back. But, it really does elevate your team when they get something to really put their arms around, go, this is really cool. And, I remember when we released a feed program back in the it was 94, I think was the first time we had sold a feed program. And I remember how excited the feeder was. I get to use a little computer and I get to do all this. Is really cool. I never thought I'd be able to do this kind of stuff. And you could just see the excitement, And so, and we see that a lot, right? With apps now for feed and animal and things like that. They get to get engaged with it at the animal instead of having a piece of paper writing these things down, and you just get excited.
Well, and you talk about the excitement and the enthusiasm. There's the opposite side of that, though, the hesitation and the concern over how much can we trust this type of, like AI as that assistant. So what do you run into there? What do you hear from the hesitation side?
Those that are cautious are going to be cautious about any technology, right? We don't think twice when we buy a vehicle that has new cool technology that helps us. We don't think twice. But somehow we're going to use it in dairy, and now we second guess it all. I mean, if I have a business and my personal life, the business drives my personal life. I want the best technology to give me the advantage over my competitors, right? Or better yet, I want the best so that my customer, my cow, whatever that is the happiest and gets the best results. So, I think as the generations are changing, that's changing a little bit because they understand it maybe. It's hard to answer some of those that are like, I'm afraid of that, and I don't know, and it's too early. Those are, all industries have those kinds of producers or company owners. But our life moves faster. If you don't figure out how to move faster, you get left behind pretty fast.
Don't you think that speed has really taken off, that speed of what you're missing out if you fail to adapt?
I mean, if you think it's fast today, wait a year.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, these things, because technology makes it possible, but also the competition of companies and personal life. And, how do I was talking to someone not very long ago. They're like, yeah, I used AI to go find the best interest rate for the home loan I was buying. Right.
Yeah.
And they had answers within minutes instead of this research on the internet, go find out who's the best company. You can say, hey, who has the best reputation or who has the best, stars. And I want to know what their interest rate is. It goes and figures that out, right?
So I got to ask you then, like, as a guy that's thinking about these things and in the space, what are like a few of the things that you personally are using some sort of AI tool for in your own life?
I'm not a huge AI user. Some simple things, for example, and it was actually taught to me by one of our young sales staff, which was a brilliant idea, by the way, is she was traveling and used AI to say, okay, I'm in this country, in this city. Where's the best places to eat? Right. And it analyzes quickly.
Yeah.
Right. And gives you the reasons it's a great place or not. So things like that. We do use it a bit in the company. So our developers will use it, for example, to say, here's some code. AI, tell me if you see anything that isn't written correctly. It can't really, in complex things like what we do for dairy, you can't really use AI to build it, but you can say, here is a function or a thing that we built. Can you tell me if you see any errors? I think I'm just a guy who's not very happy with, no matter what we're doing, we can always do it better, even within Milc Group. I mean, I'm always asking the question, why are we doing it this way? We got to do it better. We got to do it faster. We got to do it so that the customer really gets a response and is happy, right? I pay attention to a lot of other industries and I guess just not ever settling, right? Settling the way we do things or the way we think about things.
So whether it's AI that we've been talking about today, ID, there's some cool things that you guys have been working on behind the scenes and that you're bringing to market here before the end of the year or in early 2026. Anything else that you guys are working on? To give us a peek behind the curtain at Milc Group?
Probably looking at first quarter next year. What we built in the ID system for cattle will also go into feed. So we'll be able to identify each pen and the section of the pen so that we can help the feeder distribute feed in the bunk to the way they eat rather than distributing along the whole bunk, right? So yeah, dairymen know this because they see it all the time, is you take a pen and they eat heavier on one side than the other. Well, because we will know the sections within a pen and the pen, we will instruct the feeder to feed, for example, 60% in this area and 40 over there, and then tell back as far as an alert when they don't follow that instruction. But also that I'm told to feed pen 7 and that's the pen I'm feeding. And then the same ID will take and track the concentrates. So you ID the commodity bay. You got a reader on the loader and it goes and it says, go get cottonseed. Yep, it's cottonseed. I'm dropping cottonseed in the mixer. Did I go back to cottonseed and dump the remaining off, or did I go to the next commodity, corn, and leave it in? So there's some verification, validation of accuracy is what we're trying to cover, right?
Yeah.
So
this is what you've been working on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's part of it. There's a lot of things that I'm not sure will work, so I'm not going to talk about them yet. But R&D is a big part of what we do. We don't sit still. There's just so much. One of the things that we try to do is look at the dairy, and we know dairy really well. There's a lot of holes in dairy, and what we're trying to do is cover those holes, just like the ID, solving the ID. How do I do the hospital without getting dyslexic and writing the wrong numbers down, or making it a 2-man job instead of a 1-man job? To, how do I get the use of applications through AI that's easy? Anyone can do it. You don't have to learn a new language. You don't have to learn how it works. You just have to ask natural questions. These are the things that we're trying to fill to make operations more efficient. Ultimately, you make more money, right? At least you can cut costs. You can look at the dairy in a new way.
And so, between the different things that you've brought forth to the marketplace from Milc Group to help producers, there's also that ability to tie in the different data streams together, right? And the platform that aggregates that.
I'll give you maybe an easy picture of the connection between the products. So we have pulsation sensors.
Mm-hmm.
We now have accurate ID in animal. So imagine if I am watching animals come through the parlor and I could be proactive about risk. So let's just say that you have a stall that has a vacuum problem, a crack, a twisted cup, or a bad pulsator. Animal stalls there. I know the ID. I know that our sensor is in place, so it knows it was unhealthy. Goes into animal and pops up a list and says, here are all the animals that hit that stall while it was unhealthy. Or if you look past, you say, okay, I've had mastitis. How many unhealthy stalls and what stall was it that these animals got exposed to? Now the proof that bad pulsation and vacuum, right? Or, hey, I've got a barn problem. Maybe it's a whole vacuum problem. Maybe it is a, take off board problem. Who knows, right? But at least now it's the connection between something that most of us don't think about is a pulsation sensor or a stall and the effect it had on the cow. So now I've got mastitis, which treating her is the Band-Aid. I want to reach through animal back in the facility to say, oh, here's a stall that's unhealthy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now you're starting, that's just a simple analogy to show it's cause and effect. Here's the effect. What was the cause? And we have to be able to see that so I can solve it quickly and reduce the potential for mastitis.
And that's that whole bigger picture integration. And
absolutely.
But really, that's only the beginning. That's the baseline from which, are bringing in the artificial intelligence, the accuracy, and that's the game changer.
Yes.
That's the game changer.
We're working on some other things, obviously, with ID and feed. I think next we'll go to water. So water consumption with the ID system.
Interesting.
Yeah. There are many companies that are, and one that we're working with fairly closely, and there's a couple that we're having conversations with about being able to use cameras to tell you body weight. And so we're really close to getting that answer. And that's all I need an animal to be able to statistically say how many dollars every day they're consuming. So I can help dairymen understand she is an asset or a liability.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And we're really close. If these 3 companies that I know of, there's maybe others out there, can really make it accurate enough, it's going to be a game changer on the way that we assess the animals in a herd.
Yeah. And it reminds me of something I know I've heard you talk about before too, and that's really looking at each cow as that individual production unit, and how, in any other industry, those costs, which are the assets, which are the liabilities, what's making you money, what's not. Those costs are usually things are easier to define, but that's been something that's also been your mission, is to really nail that down to determine true profitability in real time.
It is. And here's the simple analogy. We have a pen of 100 or 300 animals, and we're managing them on an average. Do that with your labor. If I've got 50 employees and I'm going to manage all 50 as an average, which ones are performing, which ones are not performing, who do I need to replace? We'd go broke, right? But we're okay with doing that with 300 head in a pen. And it's not their fault. It's just technology companies haven't been supported maybe or been willing to take the risk of going down this path to say, how do we answer the value of a single animal in a pen? And we're pretty close.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We don't stop.
Well, hey, always a pleasure, Manuel, to sit down with you and to learn from you, not just about what you're doing at Milc Group, but really the philosophies behind it. And you've always been very consistent with the why behind it too. And that's what we just talked about right there.
Well, I'm blessed to have a great team and great industry, love the industry, and I'm pretty blessed.
You just heard from Manuel Soares of Milc Group. In his words, ever-evolving technology isn't about replacing people. It's about empowering them to do more with less guesswork and more precision. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and thanks for listening to the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. Don't forget to follow, rate, share, and review this episode. And until next time, keep on growing, keep on learning, and up-leveling your dairy. This episode is brought to you by Milc Group. Milc Group is a dairy software company that brings real-time actionable data to dairy farms around the world. They are dedicated to revolutionizing the dairy industry with their user-friendly cloud-based software. One by Milc Group is the all-in-one app that brings together all important aspects of your dairy in one place. With products such as feed and animal management software, people training, dairy facility monitoring, and scale management, Milc Group is committed to providing producers with the tools they need to succeed.